6:51, time for the morning sprint. We start with the latest on some breaking news from overnight in the latest Madison shooting. Madison police say that this is now a homicide investigation on Tree Lane. Madison police have identified two suspects in this case as well. Both have been arrested with the help of Sun Prairie Police and the Dane County Sheriff's Office. The suspects face tentative charges of first-degree intentional homicide and being felons in possession of firearms. It is our policy not to name the suspects until they're formally charged. We know the investigation is now being handed over to the Madison Police Department's Violent Crimes Unit. Well, for the first time in American history, a former president has been indicted. Donald Trump, according to sources that are telling CNN, faces over 30 counts of business fraud. The indictment remains under seal, but Trump will be instructed to surrender and face arraignment. Trump will still be under the protection of the Secret Service. He is expected in court in Manhattan Tuesday. UW system students will have to pay more to attend classes next year. The Board of Regents has voted to adopt System President Jay Rothman's proposal to increase tuition, fees, and room and board rates beginning this fall. How much of an increase depends on the school. No suspects in custody this morning following a shooting yesterday afternoon on Madison's west side. Police say one person was shot multiple times in an apartment parking lot on Tree Lane. My apologies, this is the story we just ran with the update that the shooting has been ruled a homicide and that two people are in custody. Meantime, the two children who fell from a cliff at Governor Ridge State Park Wednesday are now out of the hospital and expected to recover. Authorities say that a 6- and 4-year-old fell from these rocks right here. The DNR says the fall happened in an area that is not on a designated trail or maintained by park staff. They say anyone hiking on the bluff is doing so at their own risk. Well, a scare yesterday at Joint Base Andrews, and still no suspect in custody after the base was locked down for several hours because of a report of an armed man on the base. It's frequented by the president, of course, who was not there at the time. Again, no suspect has been found after a sweep of the base, but there is an increased security presence there today. An update now to a story we brought you as breaking news yesterday. Residents in the small town of Raymond, Minnesota, getting to go ahead to return to their homes after a train derailment. A train carrying ethanol and corn syrup went off the tracks and quickly caught fire. It required a half-mile evacuation. No injuries were reported and no harmful chemicals were leaked. Now to another update from breaking news yesterday. We now know that 9 people died in a crash involving 2 Army Black Hawk helicopters in Kentucky. The helicopters were conducting nighttime training exercises when the scene turned tragic. Officials say the medical evacuation helicopters belonged to the 101st and crashed in a field near residential areas about 30 miles northwest of Fort Campbell. An update on the Pope this morning. The Vatican says that Pope Francis has spent a second successful and peaceful night at a hospital after recovering from bronchitis. The Pope was taken to Rome's Gemelli Hospital Wednesday after complaining of breathing difficulties. Officials say that he's doing much better, undergoing treatment, and with the help of antibiotics, he should be discharged in a couple days. Turkey has finally approved Finland's application to join NATO. It puts an end to months of delays while also continuing to block Sweden from joining the military alliance. The Turkish parliament voted unanimously in favor of Finland's membership yesterday, clearing the last hurdle in the accession process. Turkey will approve Sweden to NATO once land disputes over Ankara and Stockholm have been resolved. Millions of years after dinosaurs ruled the earth, the skeleton of a giant T-Rex is going to be auctioned off in Switzerland. The giant carnivore expected to fetch $5 to $8 million. It's 12 feet tall, 38 feet long, and is only the third such creature to ever be put up for auction, and the first one in Europe.
Good morning. 5 minutes away from 7 o'clock. First warn meteorologist Kelly Slifka after the storms overnight. We've got some dry weather now for the next several hours going into the early afternoon hours. And it's a much milder morning. We're at 46 in Madison, 52 in Janesville and Monroe. As you plan your day, we are looking at dry weather generally into the early afternoon, but after 3 o'clock, we'll start to see some showers and storms start to develop, and some of these storms may fire up enough to produce some isolated tornadoes and some gusty winds and some hail, especially in the Madison area. I think between 7 and 8 o'clock, that's looking like when we do have the potential of seeing some damaging winds. Then everything should be drier after that, at least for a time. Temperatures today in the lower 60s as we'll look for that severe weather potential later this afternoon through the evening. The first warn forecast brings in a chance for some snow tomorrow morning, and then we'll look at some drier weather on Sunday. Another big storm system, it looks like, next week.
All right. My co-anchor Leah Linscheid is going to be back on Monday from maternity leave. We'll have a news and weather update in 30 minutes.